Hey guys, this is Roxy with Meet Roxy Jordan, and I am super stoked today because I have one of my most favorite people in online marketing with me today, and that is Lucy. Graham is right here. Welcome, Lucy.
Hi, thank you, Roxy, for welcoming to the show. Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being here. And I know I've had the opportunity to talk with you a couple of times in some of our like Freedom Live experience and our XL Mastermind. And I just want to share something with you really quick, Lucy. And we were at the we were at the Freedom 2 experience in Las Vegas. And you purposefully, I believe, sat next to me at one of our dinners. And your words of wisdom to me that night, you have no idea how that pulled me forward into some decision makings that we were needing to make at that experience, Freedom experience. And I just want to thank you because you gave me a solid rock to stand on, and I know your faith is your solid rock. But I just want to thank you for those words of encouragement and wiseness that you gave to me that night or that day at that dinner. So thank you.
That's awesome, Roxy. Thank you for saying that. My whole goal at Freedom 2 was to be able to encourage those that were there. And quite often you don't have an idea what impact you make, but just to be open to those opportunities is exciting for me as well. So thank you very much.
I love that. And I think I know where you're speaking from, and that really excites me because I think we're going to dive into that a little bit more. But I'm going to hold off on that a little bit because I could just do a whole hour of what you said of being at the right place at the right time for God's purpose. And you definitely were there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, Lucy, I want to know what in the core essence of who you are, tell us, who that person is. Who is Lucy Graham? In your own words, tell us who you are.
Well, quite often we define ourselves by what we do or what we don't do. And so if I say who I am, I usually start off and say I'm a retired teacher. But that doesn't tell people a whole lot about me. My core essence, I would say I'm a child of God, and I want to live my life doing things that God is wanting for me to do. He invites us to be part of His creation and to participate in what He has planned for the world. So I'm just excited to be able to do that and be invited by God to do that. So that's my core. But yes, background, I'm a senior right now, so that's a new transition, part of my life. But I was born in Nova Scotia, which is on the east coast of Canada, and grew up in a family with 3 girls. We didn't have a whole lot of money growing up, but we had my mom would take in boarders so that we could make ends meet, and Dad worked, and work was very important. He was always on time for work, but he always was off on Sundays, and we were in church every Sunday and that kind of thing. So I had the solid growing up in the Christian faith, and just knowing that was a very important part of my life, and went through the process of making my faith my own as I was growing up. And sure, that's the essence of who I am. When I was in school, I was very interested in sports. that was something that was free, so I could be part of it. I couldn't join the Y because we couldn't afford it, but I could take part in any sports that was offered at my school. And so I played every sport that they had, and got really excited about track and field, and so joined a local club, and spent my summers, and my whole family spent their summers traveling. Dad would drive me to track meets every weekend throughout the summer. And so as a family, they were dragged off to watch Lucy jump over a high jump bar and stuff like that. But that was important, that, you know, that my mom and dad were supportive in that way, and would take me to that. And we always had, you know, the Coleman stove, and on the way home we would have our dinner, and those picnics as a family. You know, sometimes my older sister didn't want to go, but but that was what we did, because and I really appreciate their support in doing that for me. What else can I say? Going through school, I always was told when I left the house from my mom, make 100. But, you know, she really only wanted you to do your best, not if you got 98, you weren't scolded for that or anything like that. But I was fortunate enough to be a fairly good student, and did well in school. But I was also the athlete as well. And so I didn't come first in my class, but I was second in a class of over 700 people. So I thought,
good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I went off to university. I had no idea in my final year of school exactly what I was going to go into. And so I went to the guidance counselor, and you know, he said, well, what do you like to do? And I said, well, I play sports. And he says, so why don't you be a physical education teacher? And I thought, oh, that sounds like a good thing. My mom was a little, what? You're going to play sports all your life? You better do something else. And I was quite strong in mathematics. So when mom would say, oh, Lucy's going off to university, she's going to be a phys ed teacher, but she's also taking math. And so that became my academic minor. And I did graduate with a degree in physical education. And then I did my Bachelor of Arts in mathematics, so that I was able to teach both subjects in school, and started out as a math and phys ed teacher, which was a strange combination. For a lot of people would say, oh, you're a jock, you can't do math. I showed those engineers that were in my class, I beat them all, so that was okay. You know, just say I can't and I will. Because I'm determined to prove people wrong. So anyway, that's who I was.
I love that. And, you know, just listening to you talk, you can just see, you know, God's hand in every step of your life. Like, you know, kind of going back to the core essence of who you are from the beginning is, I have this vision. This is the story that you've painted in my head as you're talking. Is here is a woman who wakes up every single day and says, God, what do you have for me today? Because that's what we're going to do. And you know, just listening to you talk, you can just see every step of his guidance in your life. And because, you know, you're a good athlete, you're good at math. And I mean, and family values, and, you know, as you told the story and I developed the story in my head, that's what I see of you. And that's exactly, when I first met you, that's who I saw. And
thank you.
I think that is so cool that you just, you know, do you wake up every morning saying, okay, God, today's your day again, what are we going to do?
I don't, but I wish I did. You know, I subconsciously do that, because that's one of the first things I do in the morning. I always get dressed. This idea of working in your pajamas was
Yeah.
never a thing for me. It was
Yeah.
just, you normally get up, you got dressed, you had your breakfast. And then the first thing I do is sit down in front of my computer. But I have, through our church, we get a daily Bible study reading. It's called a study guide. And that's the first thing that I do. So yes, in a way, I start my day, okay, God, what are we up to today? But it's not until after I've gotten dressed. It's not, I wake up and say, hi, God, I should, but I don't.
He doesn't let you stay in your pajamas all day, does he?
That's right, no. Yes, today, get up and get going.
Get going. We got work to do. You don't know what it is, but we got work to do.
That's true.
Oh my gosh. And so I love listening to you talk about how your family supported you in your academics, your sports, and then you had the Coleman stove, and you guys, cooked and had picnics on the way back and to and from. I grew up in a family where we're a big camping family. Grew up in Minnesota, and so I totally get that. Like, I know how to start that Coleman stove, and I know how to cook over a fire. I'm totally into that.
Well, that was Dad's job. Mom was scared of the propane, but Mom always had to do the cooking. And
did they teach you, though? Did they teach you how to do that?
I don't think I could probably start a Coleman stove today, but
Okay.
I don't even know where that is. It's probably been discarded right now.
Well, Lucy, I know some things about you that we share a common interest in. But what I want you to share with us, what are your hobbies? You're retired. You've always had the world by the tail, but now you're retired. And well, I think you're all the way retired, aren't you?
Well, officially, from the government standpoint, yes.
Okay, right. So what are some hobbies? What are your hobbies that you like to do that you just take time out for Lucy or with friends and you go do some of these hobbies? Share what those are.
Well, I've learned to play handbells while I was still teaching, and just found that such a fascinating instrument. I had learned piano as a child growing up, but never learned to play anything by ear. I always had to have the music in front of me, and never played for anybody, just for myself. Really hadn't developed that skill to the point that I felt that I could just sit at the piano and play. But when I was introduced to handbells through a gentleman in our church who asked a few of us to play at the end of a piece that he was going to do for the offertory, I thought, wow, this is so cool. And I was in a position at my church at the time that I was on what we call church council. So I went to this gentleman and I said, if I can talk the church into getting some handbells, would you be willing to teach it? And so that was the start of handbells at our church. And that was in 1991. So that's a long time ago that I started playing, and it was through that opportunity that I got involved with the Alberta Guild of English Handbell Ringers, and had found out about international symposiums and opportunities to travel all over the world to play handbells. So first one I went to was in 1996. I went to Albuquerque. I'd never been to Albuquerque, and I just joined in with a group that was from Alberta, and they said, here, you play A and B. Well, I was reading it in the bass clef, and I was supposed to be playing notes up in the treble clef. But hey, give it a try. And by the end of the 3 or 4 day symposium, where you spend your time learning these pieces to play in a concert, I had picked it up pretty well. So able to play in the final concert and do all of that. And, it just kind of grew from there. That was just such an awesome experience that I said, I'm going to go to as many of these as I can. Well, because I went teach after I took early retirement and I went to Kuwait, there weren't any bells in Kuwait, but I came home every summer and would go to whatever event I could. So I had chance to go to the International Symposium in Toronto in 2004. I went to Brisbane and played in Australia in 2006. So, you know, and then in other summers, when I'd come home, I'd play in what they call classic bronze, which is an advanced bronze ringing event where you learn. So my skills kept improving just because you would attend an event. And that same thing can be applied to LDI, right? You learn so much when you go to a live event. So yeah, that's one of my biggest hobbies. So.
Yeah.
And I think I got off track here with
you're good. We're good. No, I love to listen to you talk. And then I know you're phenomenal on bells because you've posted some videos, and I love the sound of brass and bells, and so I sit there and I listen, and you've even sent some to me via messenger for, to listen to, so I really appreciate that. That's pretty cool. And then I know you also like to snowshoe. You have snowshoed a little bit.
Yes. One of the things that I really enjoyed doing growing up, we couldn't afford to learn skiing, but when I went to university, and because I was in physical education, that was one of the options. And I learned to ski on the hill, we called it, right in front of the physical education building, the Lord Beaverbrook building in Fredericton. And that year, there was hardly any snow. So we basically skied on a little dab of snow with the grass sticking up on it. So I always tell everybody, I learned to ski on grass. Oh dear.
Wow.
And I know that there are places in the world, because I've done it. In Scotland, I was on a tour, and we went to one of their ski hills, and they actually have, it's like a fiber or something, and you can go and learn to ski, take a ski lesson on their ski hills, because they don't have enough snow to keep it going. And so you can actually learn to ski on grass, as I call it.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
And then when I was teaching in Nova Scotia, at Lunenburg, in Lunenburg County, where they made the Blue Nose, in case we're giving a history lesson here. Cool. The schools that I was teaching at, we had sent 12 students from 3 different schools within the county area on an exchange, and they got to come out to Jasper. And I was selected to go along as the female chaperone for the girls that were there. And they took us to Marmot Basin in Jasper, and we had a ski day there. And I thought, wow, I've got to move west. I love these mountains. And so eventually I did move to Alberta, and I live, takes me about 2.5 to 3 hours to go from my place up to the beginning of Banff National Park, where I have a timeshare, and I try to go up every year and ski in Lake Louise. So yeah, I take my snowshoes as well, and when I go for a walk around just the timeshare itself, I put the snowshoes on, because snow's too deep to just go walking normally.
Right. And you like Banff. Oh my gosh, I so want to visit that area someday.
You're welcome to join me.
I might take you up on that. Yeah. I mean, it is.
And bring your snowshoes so we can go
together. They're in my trunk of my car all the time with all my winter clothes, because when I travel and if I see a spot I want a snowshoe, I just stop and just get her done, because it's just a favorite pastime. Yeah. So, and now I'm kind of curious, because you are retired, I mean, and you have this traveling life with the bells, and you have the timeshare, at Banff. what do you do for, like, I know you're retired and you have, pension probably, but I also know that you're involved in another business called Lifestyle Design International. And so I'm really curious to segue into that and find out from you, because I got to, like I said at the very beginning of this chat, that I was able to sit by you at a dinner and get to know you better. And I want to know, like, what was your biggest takeaway from the Freedom 2 experience in Las Vegas? And why did you choose Lifestyle Design International to join and to develop that business, that digital online business?
Okay. I think I'll start with the second question first, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
As you know, I was teaching, and I took early retirement in 2002, a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And at the time, through my whole life, I've been able to use my vacation times to travel. And not just for bells, but I traveled all over the world because my sister worked for the Department of Foreign Affairs. And so she had postings all over the world. And so as a teacher with my summers off, I always knew where my next vacation was going to be, because every 2 years she'd be in some different country. And of course, it would just cost me the airfare to get there. So that's what I would save up for. And then I could stay with her. So she fed me and she took care of me. So I had no hotel expenses or anything like that. And so I got to see the world. I loved it. And I even took a year leave of absence and went and lived with her while she was in Dublin, Ireland, and found out what it was like to be retired. She had to go to work, but I was free to do whatever I wanted. And so I got a bicycle, and I biked all over the city, and I could tell her places that she had never been to, because she'd always went in her car, which is another one of my hobbies. I love to cycle and go on bike trips and things. So yeah. So anyway, I had decided that once my house was paid for, I would put in for early retirement, and I had the right number of years to retire. And so that's what I did. And the plan was to go live with my sister wherever she was posted, and possibly teach at an international school.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she ended up getting married. And I had already put in for my retirement. And when they'd say, what are you going to do? I said, well, I was going to come and live with you, but I never got a real positive response about that. So I thought, I don't need to go live with you. I can do it myself. I'm independent enough. And so I applied to TIE Online, which is TIE, the International Educator. And lo and behold, I got an email the last week of June, and I was retiring at the end of the week, was my last day of school. And they said, hello, we're looking for math teachers. Are you available? Are you interested, and are you available? And this was from a school in Kuwait. And I thought, Kuwait?
Kuwait?
I wanted to go to a place like China or something like that, Why would I want to go to Kuwait? So anyway, I wrote back, and I thought, I don't know if this is what God wants me to do, but here's an opportunity. And I've always believed that if God opens a door, my job is to take the first step. And if he wants to close that door, then fine,
Yeah.
I wasn't, but if I don't take the first step, how do I know if he's going to close it or not, or keep it open?
That's right.
So that's how I did it, rather than waiting for all the right answers. How we talk in LDI, some people think they have to know everything or has to be perfect. What was it Jordan said today? Just get it done. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And so you just take that first step, and and see if the next one is right and that kind of thing. So that's how I approached this invitation to go to Kuwait. And I had made arrangements via email that they would give me a phone call and we would chat about it within a week. So on that call, I had 2 questions. And going to Kuwait for me, because I had visited my sister when she was in Saudi Arabia, I had an idea of what it was like to live in a country where Islam was the required way of life.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had 2 questions for them. Did I have to wear the black abaya? Because in Saudi Arabia, women do.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer was no, you don't.
Wow.
You have to dress modestly. You're in their country, so you don't want to be standing out, but I didn't have to wear the black abaya, so that was good. And the other question I had was, were women allowed to drive? Because I wanted to be independent. I didn't want to have to depend on other people to take me around the places.
Totally.
And he said, oh yes, women are allowed to drive in Kuwait. So I said to him, okay, I'll come.
Yeah.
I didn't ask anything about my job. All I asked was those 2 questions. And so then it was, the process of being accepted by them, having the right credentials for teaching math and all those other details. And, I didn't know, do I pack up my house? Do I get ready? Do I do this, do that? And like I say, if God's going to close the door, then it'll be something like that won't work out. Like at first I couldn't find my official teaching certificate from Alberta, and I had to have a copy of that. So, well, that could have been the door being closed. But no, I can call up to Edmonton and get them to fax me a copy, and all those little details that we can use as excuses. They're not excuses. They're just steps along the way that you have to take. So anyway, long story. So that's how I got to Kuwait. What was the question?
The reason, LDI, you jumped in and the biggest takeaway. Go. I love this. Keep talking. We're good.
So anyway, I was in Kuwait and I stayed for 7 years. It was originally a 2-year contract, but every year then if they like you, they would offer it another year. And the reason that I came home wasn't because they didn't offer me another contract. I put in for retirement in 2008. I put in that I was not returning for the next year. And then we had the crash. With all our investments. I'm saying, Lucy, what are you doing? But the reason that I had put in to come home was because my dad was in his 90s and he needed more home care. And my older sister had been taking care of Dad, traveling every weekend to visit him. And she was planning a trip and she needed that break. So that was my goal, was to go home, give her that year off. And if I could, I would have gone back. But it didn't work out that way. So here I am back in Canada, no paycheck. I didn't have a teacher's pension because when I took early retirement, my financial advisor had advised me to invest it, take it out and invest it. I was not old enough to get a pension. And so that's what we had done. But then we had that crash.
Yeah.
So, okay, I need time for buy, hold, and prosper for that money to start coming back. And yes, you make money when you teach overseas, but I had enjoyed traveling every summer, so I didn't make any money. I just made money to live on while I was there, that kind of thing. So here I am back, and then I'm going back to Nova Scotia. I'm not even come back to my own place in Alberta. What am I going to do? Yeah. So I went searching online and found things like mystery shopping, ways to make $20 here, $10 here, whatever, but
Oh
just
my
to
gosh.
supplement my income
Mhm.
while I was, relying on Canada Pension and not trying to dip into my own savings and that kind of thing. And, I thought, okay, you taught math. Why don't you become a math tutor? Why don't you set up a website? So I paid money to set up my own website, and it's still running today, but I never made any money off of it. I spent money on that. And then I got into some internet marketing, and because I was looking online for all these things, different advertisers caught my information as we're learning on how to market, and so somehow they got my information, and I got a phone call from somebody who knows Corey Reynolds and ended up in his downline on an online marketing business at that point in time. And I moved on with Corey from one marketing company to another, and so on. And it was through Corey that I was introduced to a Magic, and then also still doing that, but then heard about the launching of LDI. And so I jumped in right at the beginning, the pre-launch, and became one of the core members. So I was in before I was in the core 30.
Yeah, you were in that core 30.
The founders group, yes.
Yep.
Yes, and I went to the very first mastermind event, which was Rocky Mountain Mastermind in Denver. And, when I look at that event and Freedom 2 event, that's exactly a year apart.
Yep.
And look at that shy Lucy who sat in the back and never opened her mouth unless she had to, scared to death that the guys would ask me a question that I didn't want to answer, to who I became over the 1 year with LDI. That's my biggest takeaway from Freedom 2 was, Lucy, wow, have you ever grown? And it's all because of LDI. That's where I see how I personally have grown. I've been able to step out of my comfort zone and do things. Yes, I did lots of crazy things. People would say I've had quite a great career, and I have, and I've had those opportunities. But the growth that I've seen in me in 1 year is just awesome.
Lucy,
like I'm not bragging. It's just
no, you're not. No, I remember I had joined in January 2nd of 2017, right after the core group was formed.
Right.
And I remember them doing that Rocky Mountain Mastermind, and they were going to do Facebook Lives, and I was glued to the internet. Like, I am going to get a peek in and what they're doing. And I remember seeing you and several others of the core 30 and watching. And you're so exactly right. When you think back to that core 30 and the Rocky Mountain Mastermind, which was built for you guys, and where everyone was at then, and look at where people are at Freedom 2 Experience in Las Vegas, every single one of those people who were at Rocky Mountain Mastermind, who were at Freedom 2, even in looks and the confidence and the personal growth is enormous. Yes. Just enormous. And that's so fun to think back on and look at that. It would be kind of fun to put video clips together of the Rocky Mountain Mastermind to where people are at today.
Exactly.
And I see that in you totally. Seeing you sit in the back of the room, don't call on me, and now you're stepping up to the mic, or you're a real big contributor in our community, and just what a difference. It's so amazing to watch. Who would have thought? Seriously, who would have thought in your retirement years, when you're supposed to be laid back and just doing whatever, watching TV shows or whatever, And look at you now, and such a huge growth in this 1 year. If you were to compare that to the rest of your life, I think your biggest growth was in this last year. And it's
Well,
just beginning.
certainly in the, stepping up and being upfront. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've never been, it's never bothered me to be a public speaker because of being a teacher. But I was way more comfortable in my own classroom because I could shut the door and not have to worry about it. But to get up in front of the key, people or the founders, that was a bit different. A lot of people are scared to death to be in front of someone and speak and even read scripture in church or anything. And that doesn't bother me because of teaching. But I don't know if I'd ever be up on stage at an LDI event.
I think you could.
I think I probably could too. I just need to know what I have to say.
Yeah. Well, and it's such a family. I mean, we're just such a family unit and so supportive of each other. No matter where we're at, no matter what age you're at, that I definitely could see that. I could see you stepping up and being able to talk because it's a comfortable area to be in. They've made it that comfortable.
Yes, that's true. And I noticed even in our most recent, the quarterly thing for our Excel members that we had last weekend, when we were put in those rooms, I
bet you were the leader.
I wasn't in the very first room, but I certainly was in the other rooms every time we broke out. And I thought it was interesting when Jeff and Andrew popped into our rooms, everybody went quiet.
Yeah, right?
Isn't that funny? But yeah, like I wish they'd have popped in without us being able to see that they were there and have heard who was taking leadership. Not that I needed to be affirmed in my leadership role, but just it's a lot different when somebody else steps into the room.
It does. And I noticed that, like, even in the breakout rooms that I was in for that intensive, like I was like I don't like to say this too much, but I was like the senior person in those rooms. And when you look at the names, you just take charge because they're looking for somebody to lead them and to show them how to do things. And that's exactly what you did. And that's just what you do. And that's what they've taught us to do. That's what, Jeff and Andrew have taught us to do, that you step into that role and you lead people forward. And that's fun.
And I think because, beforehand, I guess before going to it, I thought, well, what do I have to contribute? But when you got to Freedom 2 and there were so many new people and just starting, they're all coming up and say, oh, I recognized you from the videos that are on there. Yeah. Oh, you're the handbell lady. I love those videos. And it just kind of blew me away that, oh, okay. But that they were interested in, what can I share with them? And I felt that responsibility. That's where we are in the growth of this company. And I love it that, Andrew and Jeff and Jordan want us to grow ourselves and to be able to share what we've learned with others. They can't do it all. And so the whole community needs you, needs me, needs us, and we need to step up and do it.
Absolutely. And that's really exciting because I've been part of other companies where, they kind of hold you back and only the big main leaders. And this is a whole community and whoever you identify with.
You don't have anything to contribute. This is our show. And that's not the way it is.
We are definitely a community. Well, Lucy, I know you've got a product out on the marketplace right now because of Lifestyle Design International. Can you share with us what that product is? Because I have not dived into that training yet, but I know it's available to even my viewers. And I want you to elaborate on that process and what the product is and how we can get our hands on it.
Well, I believe it's in my back office right now.
Cool.
It's in the not the final product state, because Jordan challenged me to go home and make it my own, but the original is there. And when I saw it, I said, hey, it's not the one that I sent you. But he said his production team is working on it, and it takes about 2 weeks. So in
Nice.
2 weeks, it'll be in the Lucy Graham format rather than the format that was there. But Jordan's part is done. When you decide to sign up for Transcend, you get to go to Las Vegas for a shopping day. They take you shopping and get you some clothes, do a photo shoot, do all that kind of stuff, and enjoy a lifestyle day. And for us, it was to get to go to David Copperfield, which was Jordan's big dream of his life, because he loves doing magic tricks and things like that himself. So that was a very exciting event. And then we went to the St. George office and stayed at a resort outside of that. And they did all the video training for us there. We had our scripts already ahead of time, and we had to read them, and he filmed us, and we did all this kind of stuff. And so then they took all that stuff and revamped it. So mine is up now, so that you'll have the sales video, the thank you page, all that kind of stuff. And it's done so professionally.
Oh my gosh.
Jordan's amazing. It's just awesome. And, he makes you feel so comfortable, because he's not, I don't know, Hollywood's idea of a director who's screaming at you and telling you, do it this way and do it that way. No, Jordan is so encouraging and so positive about things that he convinces you that you can do it. And you can.
Yeah, he does.
And that's great. And then to have that small group one-on-one with Andrew and Jeff, and just learning from each other. Just that week of Transcend is just so awesome. And of course, that's when I got to meet you. And when at the end of it, we went up for the coaching thing. And so that was nice to meet you there. And so that's the beginning part. And then of course it takes time as they start to launch it. And now we're at the launching stage that my product is out there. And it's in the back office under the publishing things, and consists of 2 modules with 2 lessons in each module, and is talking about email marketing strategies and how you can set up an email campaign, get things going to get people to hopefully subscribe. You offer them this free course, and as you go through it, then if they opt into the free course, then there's the bonus offer which takes them into LDI. So that is because it's a partnership with LDI Publishing. Everybody who has a premium membership can sell my course and get 100% commission. I believe that's the way they've set it up. But if anybody opts into the LDI through that, it's not your lead, it's my lead.
Right.
And that's the reason you make it your program, you know, with LDI. So I'm just excited to be able to start launching that for myself and sell the course, or get people to start taking the course and join in with LDI through that, and see if I can get some leads that way. But it's really cool to see yourself moving in a video and talking, and that's growth for me, because I mean, like I said at the beginning, a year ago, I wouldn't even open my mouth. I've been in front of a camera, and I've been to Vegas, and
You've been a lot of places. Well, I'm totally stoked for that new product of yours to be out and to dive into that training and see what it's all about. Because I know I can always use education on email marketing. Anybody can. It's
Yeah.
not dead. It's very much alive. Yeah.
Yes.
So as we wrap this chat up, is there anything that you are thinking in your head, like, I wish Roxy would ask me this, or this is something that I really want to, tell the viewers who are viewing this video, this chat? Is there anything really kind of standing right there that you're like, I just really need to say this because I want to open the platform up and just let you speak it, whatever it might be?
Well, I think I'm hoping that people would notice that I'm no different than anybody else. Yes, I'm retired. Yes, I've been teaching school, but all those experiences that we've had in life have helped us become who we are. But we can be so much more. And my mission statement that I wrote the other day was living life abundantly. And as I shared on my post, it comes from John 10:10b, where Jesus is saying, I have come that you might have life and you might have it more abundantly. And I was just on a mission trip with my church to Cuba. In fact, I arrived in Vegas for Freedom 2 from Cuba.
I remember that. Yeah.
I had a suitcase full of dirty clothes and had to find the ones that I had saved for Vegas to wear there. That was one of the scriptures that we had used, and where John 10 says Jesus has chosen us to be part of his work. And I have come that you might have life and have it abundantly. When we sometimes think abundance is just money, but abundance is an abundance in relationships, abundance in
joy,
able to enjoy, just experiences. And so that's my goal, is to live a life abundantly. And I use that thing as my mission statement, living life abundantly. And of course, for me, that means living a life that God wants me to live and become the person that God wants me to be. And I want to use LDI to do that. If abundantly means having a lot of money as a result of being part of LDI, well, okay. But what am I to do with that money? I want to share it. I want to enrich help other people out in my family. I've got a niece and a nephew who have families. And so that's, where I hope to help out. Help out again in Cuba, help out in my community. I'm involved with my seniors group. This morning I was driving the bus as they help them go shopping, and I get to drive the bus tomorrow night and take them to a community outside here, and we're going to a dinner theater show. And so, just be involved in your community and contribute as much as I can. So and to anybody else out there, I'm nobody special. I'm just someone who wants to live life abundantly and share that with others. And if I don't know how to do something, figure it out. Isn't that what we heard? Write a list of 50 ways to figure it out. Maybe 49 ways on that list are impossible, but you'll come up with some idea to help you. And maybe it's a combination of a few ideas within that list of 50 to make it possible for you to afford to go to the next event, afford to go to buy the next flight. But, that was a takeaway. And another big takeaway is just step out of your comfort zone. Take that first step. Don't wait till you have it all figured out. Just
Yeah.
start moving and going
Yeah.
forward.
Such wise words, Lucy. Those are such wise words. What a
But
perfect way.
none of those words are my own. I mean, if we've heard them all before from our
Mhm.
speakers, from
Mhm.
wherever but they start to become part of you when you feed that
Yeah.
into your brain mindset, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, they feed us so well, and God feeds us so well every single day with who we're supposed to be, and even through the tough times, it's all good. But what's most important is that when the timing, you didn't even think about what you're going to say. And so that's how I know that those words that you gave to us right now were meant to be for this time. And they'll be for other times too, but that's just feeding us, and you're passing along the abundance to my viewers by doing that, by sharing those words.
Well, thank you.
That's awesome. You are such a blessing to me, Lucy. I hope you know that. Um, and you're a blessing to so many other people. And I love watching your walk and having Jesus and God first in your life, and the essence of who you are and why you're in LDI and why you live the life you do. I just love you for that. That's authentic, it's real, and the words you spoke to us today were so true and sink so deeply. And I thank you so much for coming on this interview, this chat with me today, and just to expand my knowledge and the viewers' knowledge of who you are and what your life is about. So thank you so much, Lucy. I from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Well, thank you, Roxy. You're a rock star too.
Awesome. We will talk soon, all right?
Okay.